All right. Megan, is it you that's sharing? Maybe we can uh, get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Desiree Pointer Mace. I have the honor and pleasure of welcoming you to the online 2026 Alverno Community Conference. Woot, woot. Please put in the chat where you are coming from. We are happy that you are here. We know that Alverno is every place that people from Alverno are. And so, as Megan has said, feel free to put your cameras on so that we do feel that sense of community. I see Waukesha in the house, Milwaukee, and in Bayview. Excellent. Megan and I are neighbors. That's cool. And I know that we have some folks in some of our online programs. We're so happy that you're here. And I know I saw Dr. Frank Hume Dawson, who I'm delighted. We see some alums in the house. Um, in addition to sharing where you are, I'd love to know what your connection is to Alverno as we get started. So, this 2026 Alverno Community Conference is brought to you by Alverno ourselves, as well as our fabulous partner, Fabula, and especially our sponsors, Dr. Marianne Schwartz and Dr. Richard Brewer's speaker series. So we're incredibly grateful for them. Hey, alums, and hey, spouses of alums. Yay. Um, so, friends, wherever you are on land that has been stewarded by people before you. Here at Alverno, we acknowledge that we are on land traditionally stewarded by the Potawatomi and Menominee peoples who have stewarded our land throughout the generations. The land on which Alverno stands is seized territory from the 1833 Treaty of Chicago. In our land acknowledgement, which was written by native members of the Alverno community, we acknowledge that these traditional homelands of the Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Potawatomi peoples are located near the southeast shores of Michigami, the largest system of freshwater lakes in North America, where our three rivers, the Milwaukee, the Menominee, and the Kinnickinnick meet, and where the sovereign Anishinaabe, Oneida, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Mohican nations remain present in the state of Wisconsin. We give thanks for their presence and for the presence of Native students, staff, faculty, alumni, and friends of the Alverno community. We will take a moment of silence to honor this land and our peoples. We repent of the ways that their stories have been erased and their cultures have been underappreciated. And we ask for wisdom in fostering greater understanding and celebration of Indigenous communities in Wisconsin. So we'll take a moment. If you are outside of Alverno and are curious about the native lands that you are on, there is an app called native-land.ca for Canada, and that it can actually tell you across the Americas who have been the stewards of the land that you are currently on. We're here tonight to celebrate stories and voices and unique points of view. And so I'm going to start with a story of my own, friends. A while ago, I was standing on the stage in front of 350 Argentinian educators in Buenos Aires on the last day of a week-long course intensive that I was leading, when a colleague ran up to me saying, "Someone is already making butterflies at a back table." To back up a minute, this was not what I wanted. In fact, it was the opposite. The course was about exploring teaching opportunities that we have and then seizing those opportunities when they arrive. I'd used Kobe Yamada's amazing book, which unfortunately is out of my reach right now, but it's called What Do You Do with a Chance? And I'd used that book as a through line for the week-long experience, reading a little bit of it every day. In the book, the chance is symbolized by a yellow butterfly. So on the last day, I was going to surprise them all by distributing origami paper, having each teacher write their opportunities on the paper, and then we would fold them into butterflies, filling the room with a visual reminder of the opportunities we have. But it was supposed to be an awesome surprise. And here was this teacher already making butterflies at the back table. So even though I'm a planner, I'm also pretty open to spontaneity. So I saw this as an opportunity to bring this teacher up onto stage with me and help him help me teach everyone how to make origami butterflies in my super fun art project. His table mates gave him a big round of applause as he made his way to the stage and then shouted out in Spanish, "Tell them how you learned how to make origami butterflies." So I turned to him and I handed him the microphone and I waited. "I'm from Misiones province," he said. "And last year we had a flood." So all the air suddenly stilled in the room. For folks here and seeing where we all live, this would be like somebody in the Milwaukee area saying, "I'm from Menominee Falls, and last August we had a flood." So everybody in the community knew immediately the devastation that had been caused in Misiones province by that flood. And so he continued. "I lost my house," he said, "everything we owned. I couldn't find my family for a week. But after a week, gracias a Dios, I found my family. After a month, gracias a Dios, we had a place to stay. After a longer period of time," he said, "I was walking down a flood-ruined street with my young daughter when she spotted a tiny piece of paper, basura, trash, in the ditch. But little glints of foil caught the sun. 'Mira, papi! How beautiful it is,' she said. 'What should we make it into?' And so Sergio and his daughter walked to the community library, found a book on origami, and learned together how to make an origami butterfly. And he said, I learned that we don't need anything. We just need the people around us who we love and a sense of imagination. So friends, let me tell you that the applause in the room and the tears in people's eyes were abundant. And what I'd imagined as this culminating art project had suddenly become so much deeper than I'd hoped. So because of his courage in sharing his story, he elevated all of our experience together into something connected, something interdependent, something essential, something unforgettable. And so what I learned is that even when you're planning to help others identify the opportunities you have to be ready to grab them when they come, because it just might be a story that will change everyone's lives for the better. Thank you. So friends, thank you, Megan. Love the butterfly emoji. This is a night about everyone's stories and how much it matters when we tell them. And so I am really delighted to pass the mic now to two fabulous, amazing storytellers. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them. We will hear from Sean Mitchell. Sean, hey. Sean is a dynamic storyteller, facilitator, and founder of Urban Citizen Enterprises, LLC. With a background in the United States Navy and years of experience leading workshops across diverse audiences, he brings structure, authenticity, and purpose to every space he enters. As a story coach working with organizations like Fabula, Sean specializes in guiding individuals from youth to professionals through the process of transforming lived experiences into powerful narratives. His work sits at the intersection of storytelling, leadership, and healing, helping people recognize the power within their story and use it to lead, connect, and create change. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Sean.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
are also joined by Kim Shine. Kim, hey! Kim is the lead storyteller at Radio Milwaukee and the senior digital producer for the station's podcast, Uniquely Milwaukee. She's an ex-Fabulous story coach and co-host of the organization's award-winning podcast, Real Stories MKE. Kim is also the co-creator of After Dark for the Culture. Highly recommended, I have been. A live series that amplifies storytellers of color. Kim has more than a decade of experience in local TV news and public radio. Beyond media, she's the author of On the Other Side of Everything, a book that explores life through her poetic reflections, humor, and personal growth. Friends, please join me in welcoming Sean Mitchell and Kim Shine. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you all for being with us today. Again, my name is Sean Mitchell,
Yeah, and I'm Kim.
and all right. So tonight we're going to go over our mission here real quick, and then we're going to get into the fact we're going to get into a poll where we're going to help you realize that everyone is a storyteller. You tell stories in a lot of different places. So we're going to put up a couple different places that we tell stories at. And if you'll take the time to participate in the poll and give us your results or give us your feedback, it would be great. So, Tim, you want to explain to us what our mission is?
Yeah, so while you guys are looking at that, gotta remember that Fabula's mission is to connect Milwaukee through real stories. So that is something that you've experienced, not something where you're necessarily a fly on the wall or someone else's story. You want to connect in this experience with something that you have done, you have felt, and you want to impart that on to all of us. So as you're thinking about the stories that you might want to tell, don't feel nervous, don't feel a lot of pressure. This is no pressure, no pressure at all. It's just about connecting, connection, and just learning that even if we don't have the same experiences, we can still learn from each other and still bond based off of the stories that we tell.
All right, all right. So I'll let our poll go here, and then
Yeah.
while we're
Let's see what
letting our yeah, let's see. So far, it seems like question one, people have written a story about their experience, their experiences of blog, social media, print, publication.
or talked
So
about it in a past interview or in a
we
job
talked about it in
interview.
the past interview. Right, right, right.
You guys are pros then.
All right, all right.
Oh, so some of you have interviewed a relative about their life. That's actually really nice. So then
Uh-huh.
you'll probably be really comfortable with what we do later on in the session, where we talk about the elements of a story. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep some of those skills in mind.
All right, all right. So next in line, or are we are we
Are
still
we
doing the poll?
are we good with the poll, Megan?
There, we're set. I just removed it. So hopefully everybody could see the many different kinds of things that are storytelling. Yes.
Yeah.
Set.
Okay,
All
okay.
right. So our goal
I just want
today,
to make
as you all know, is to connect through real stories. And so Sean is going to tell you a little bit about what the Brave Space is, because this is not a safe space. It is a brave space. And so Sean will tell you that in a minute. But our goals are to highlight personal stories. Like I said, we want to talk about personal growth and reflection, healing, self-care, and find ways to bond with one another while being brave and sharing the stories that are important to us and hopefully can impact others.
all right. So in order to do that, we're going to create a brave space. And creating a brave space, we found that the best example of the way to do that is through a poem through a young lady named Beth Stranos. There is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world, and we all carry scars and have caused wounds. This space seeks to turn down the volume of the world outside and amplify the voices that have to fight to be heard elsewhere. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be ours together, and we will work on it side by side. Again, that is a poem by Bess Stranos. And I'd also like to I'd also like to point out some of the things that we do not condone. Okay. We do not condone racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, classism, xenophobia, or general hatefulness in any way. In person, or excuse me, if you agree, give us a thumbs up if you can, if you know how, or hit us in the chat and tell us a thumb up. Okay, I'm going to assume that everybody is in agreement with that. And as the
If they're
poem
not, we got to
said,
kick them out, Sean.
that's right.
We got to kick you out.
As the poem said, this space will be ours together. And if anyone in the room experiences or witnesses any harmful behavior, please let us know, right? And we'll blow up somebody's laptop. All right. So just a few additional guidelines on how to take care of our, how to create this brave space. So the first thing we want to do is take care of ourselves, okay? If you need to use the bathroom, please do so. You're in your own home or in your own space, okay? If you have an emergency, please call 911. Don't wait on us to call 911, but please take care of yourself if you have an emergency, okay? It's okay if somebody walks by your camera, don't feel bad, right? Everybody know we're here. It's okay. Tell them to stop and listen to the story. Or we want to support each other, okay? Please give each other the courtesy of listening when others are telling their stories. Please support each other by encouraging others to share, okay? So that's number 2, support each other. Number 3, experiment. Do not be afraid to tell that story from that night when you did that thing that only you know about, right? We want you to experiment, feel free, again, in creating this brave space. It allows people to share their personal stories and create relationships between community. And that happens in these spaces. We want to maintain confidentiality. Now, that's something we also critically need to create and maintain these community relationships in these brave spaces. It is confidentiality. In tonight's example, when you do pair work, you're going to hear other people's story. And you're going to feel compelled to tell other people about other people's story. But please keep their stories confidential and take that energy and tell us your story, right? That way people can tell their stories on their own level. All right? Okay, so that's about it. I'm going to turn you back over to my co-host, and we're going to keep it going. Thank you all.
Right, guys, so how this is going to go for right now, we're going to do some demo stories because you got to loosen up just a little bit. And thank you, Desiree. I love all the energy. I saw your heart earlier too for the poem. I'm going to tell a story, and then Sean is going to tell a story, and then we will have our keynote speaker, who some of you on this call may know, but we won't tell you who she is just yet. And if you know, don't say anything. So I'm going to start with my story. And hopefully you guys laugh a little bit. If you are not on here, if I can't see you, give me an emoji if you think it's funny. That'll help me out. All right, so ready, Megan? To time me? Okay, here we go. So you see my hair right now. Think about that when I'm telling you this story because it is very crucial, very critical to how the story goes. You guys heard that I used to be in local TV news, and so I've worked in a few different markets, and Milwaukee is my third, just about. But when you're in local news or just when you're in news in general, it's a pretty serious career. It's a lot of responsibility, and a lot of people are looking at you to tell the truth, tell the facts, just tell them what's going on in their community. Great. But a big part of that too, that I think not everybody really talks about is the aesthetic. It's how you look. And so as a reporter, I'm outside and we know how the Midwest is. Weather's crazy all the time, even when it's not, still crazy. And so my hair is natural. And that means that if it's straight and it rains, it's going to curl up. Or if it's curly and something happens, it's also going to change. So being outside and being a reporter is fine. I can do that and maneuver it around and make it work. But in my last market, which was in South Bend, Indiana, Michiana, if you guys know that, I was actually promoted to Saturday morning anchor. I was very happy about that. I mean, everybody wants to elevate, everybody wants to get more responsibility, get that like main role. And for me, being a Saturday morning anchor with my personality, I'm not a morning person, but I do love morning shows. So it kind of worked. But what that meant was that I was going to have to figure out what to do with my hair every Saturday morning. And for me at the time, wearing my hair straight was a little bit more, I just my style. I just like to do that for when I was anchoring. But like I said, if I'm out 4 days a week and I don't know what the weather's gonna be like, I have no idea what I'm gonna look like on Saturday morning. So what did I decide to do? I bought a wig. Hey. I am not really a person who wears wigs unless it's for fun, colorful kind of things. So this was a really big deal. And I found a great one. It was, I think, human hair. And it was about the same length of my hair, which is, down here somewhere. And it looked perfect. And I was really proud of myself because, I braided my hair, I put the cap on, I did the spray, all the things. It looked immaculate. It was fantastic. So for a while, that worked. 4 days I'm in the field. Day 5, I'm in the studio, and everything is great. But then a few weeks go by, maybe a few months. I don't even know. I really don't even, I was so traumatized. I don't even know the time frame of this story. I am taking my hair down one day. I'm taking out my cornrows. I'm about to wash my hair. And what happens? My hair falls out on the sides, and it is crazy. Like literally this side and this side, I had no hair, looking like a supervillain. Didn't even work. So I'm freaking out because I'm trying to think my career's over. Like that's the first thing I said. I'm like super just that was not true. But anyways, I'm like my career's over. What am I gonna do? I can't be on the news like this. Like what's gonna happen? So I call this lady. She's actually kind of a family friend, family sister. She's the older sister of two of my college twin friends, and she has done my hair forever. And so I call her and I say, Jasmine, what am I supposed to do with this? Like my life is over. She calms me down. She's like, Kim, it'll be fine. It'll grow back. You just gotta chill. I don't know how to chill. I'm in news. Everything goes fast. My life personally, everything goes fast. I don't know how to chill, and I don't know how long this is going to take. And I actually told somebody after I told this story earlier today that by having my hair coming out, I was starting to look like my dad a lot sooner than I wanted to. That's not what we want. So, anyway, I calmed down. I did what she said. I put like some oils on the side. I let my hair breathe, all the things. And eventually, after taking pictures every week, eventually I started to see some progress, and my hair did grow back. While I was waiting, my hair was long enough. I kept it straight. When the wind would blow, I'd make sure my hands were where they were supposed to be. Um, and I haven't worn the wig again. The wig actually is in my storage. And I come across it every now and then when I go and try to find something, memories, I guess you can say. And I look at it and I think about wearing it again. I think about trying it out now that I know about hair care, and that's great. But I have not. And because I have so much trauma, I don't know if I ever will. So that's my story.
All right, all right. Great job, great job, great job.
And if you guys have comments on any of our stories, feel free to drop them into the chat. I'm going to let Sean go next, and then we will get to the keynote. I
All
love all
right,
the
all right. Yeah, yeah, that's neat. Sean Mitchell, I as Desiree alluded to, I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, and I went to the military early, and at 17, I dropped out of high school at 17 to go into the Navy, and my great plan was that I didn't have to go to class anymore. Now, I had played football for Riverside University High School, and we had to do all the physical stuff. So I thought I was okay. I could do the push-ups and the running and all that stuff. Just don't want to go to class anymore. So like I said, I joined at 17 and I woke up at boot camp on the first day, and when you know it, I discovered that in boot camp, you go to class every single day. In the morning, we went to class. In the afternoon, we went to class. In the evening, we went to class. But I made it through. Boot camp was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, and I discovered a lot about myself. I also discovered that the difference between a bathroom and the head. In the Navy, we call the bathroom the head. There aren't any bathrooms. So when I asked my company commander, could I use the bathroom? He made me crawl around on my elbows until I could find a bathtub. Of course, there's no bathtubs in the barracks. So I crawled around for quite some time. I made it through boot camp and I got into this place called A School. I was in aviation, so they sent me to A School. So you go learn all about aviation, all these other great things, electronics and all this stuff. But I discovered soon that not only did I have to go to class again, I couldn't go to class and party at the same time. That was a broad discovery. I wound up being in what we consider remedial classes. So I'd have to go to school all day, class again. And then in the evening, I'd have to go back to class to make up for the class that I didn't do well in. Made it through there. Um, but at the end of these schools, you're ranked. And the top person gets the best orders, and the person who's got the lowest grades gets the worst orders. So it's always this ranking. So I discovered that I was in the middle of the pack, and I was going to the USS Saipan. I got there, and I discovered a lot about myself there too. I also discovered that those ships that you see on TV, when you see them on there and they're floating around, they're nothing compared to standing right next to them. You won't believe that this thing actually floats. And I had so many wonderful experiences on the Saipan that I discovered a lot about myself. So much so that I discovered love in Norfolk, Virginia. Just about that time, I was getting ready to leave the USS Saipan. And in the Navy, you do what's called calling the detailer. The detailer is this guy in the Pentagon who's waiting for you to call him and ask him where you're going to send me. If you're a good sailor, they send you to good places. If you're a bad sailor, they send you to bad places. And I was somewhere in the middle. So I wound up being sent to Naples, Italy, Naval Air Station, Naples, Italy. And I had to take my wife with me. And we discovered that you can't just take somebody after you've been married for 30 days and you just got your orders. So I discovered long distance relationship. So me and my wife were married. In the first 4 months of our marriage or so, we were on two different continents. And finally, my wife would come and we would have a good reunion and everything. And then shortly after she came, we also discovered she was pregnant. Somehow, something happened. Because of this discovery, I really began to size up myself, not only as a man, but as a sailor, as a person, as a husband, as a father. All of these things were crashing down, all these personal discoveries in ways I felt inadequate. I didn't feel as if I was doing enough to hold up to all of these expectations. And I had to lean on my mentors and look into myself to try to do that one thing that's really hard for most of us, self-discovery, right? Who am I? What do I want? Answering those questions. In the midst of that, we were found out that my wife was going to need to have a cesarean section. And that's a pretty drastic procedure. So we planned it. And by this time, I am a sailor's sailor. You can't tell me anything. So when we met with the doctor, I had instructions. And the doctor also had instructions. He told me there's going to be a partition. You stay on this side of the partition, and I stay on this side of the partition. In my mind, I'm saying, yeah, 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 I'll do what I want to do. You can't tell me. It's my child. So we're in the hospital the day of the delivery. Everything's set up. That funky partition he wanted to put there is there. We get to the we get to the point where he's getting ready to start the procedure, and I'm holding my wife's hand, and his instructions to me were watch your wife, make sure she's breathing okay, everything's okay on that side. I do just that until I get curious. And I decide that as he's going to start the procedure, I'm just going to peek over the little barrier he's put there. And when you know it, as soon as I saw the blood and the cut, I fell out completely. They brought me back to, and I was able to at least cut the cord and wipe. You get they're when they come out, they're like covered in this white stuff. So I was able to wipe them off and all of that. But what I discovered that day was that I had been waiting all my life to be a father. Growing up without my father, that was the one thing that I discovered I really wanted to be. Um, Malcolm is 34 now, and the joy of my life. Thank you.
Yay, we love that. Thank you, Sean. All right, so before we get to our keynote, I just want to let you guys know about the elements of a story. And I want you to keep these in mind. You can also think about these from the stories that I told and that Sean told, but really have these at the top of your mind when you're listening to our keynote. So when we think about the elements of a story, it's a situation. When did this happen? Where? Who was involved? What was your role? Everyone else? And think about the detail and how you felt when this part of the story was told. And then most times, stories have a complication or a change. So that's some kind of pivot, some kind of point where something is different and we are maybe on the other side of the hill. Same thing. What details do you notice when we get to this point? Is the tension building or is it flat? What do you want to know? What more would you like to know? And also, again, how did it make you feel? Once we get over the hill, we're at the resolution. And not every story has a resolution, but if it does, you want to think about the same things. Who was involved? Where? When did this happen? Was it enough? Did it leave you wanting more? And if it did, what questions could you ask the storyteller to maybe add to that the next time they tell the story? Or for your own story, what could you add in so that the listener is satisfied? So now that we've done all that, we're going to get to our keynote speaker. This person is an alum of Alverno and also Ex-Fabulous board president. So I want you guys to give it up for Alexis Outlaw. Yay.
Hello, friends. Hooray. I'm so excited to be here. Are you all able to hear me? Loud and proud. Awesome. So, yes, I am a proud graduate of Alverno College, business and management program class. I'm not going to tell you the number, but I'm an oldie but a goodie. She's vintage and she loves all that she does. I have to say, special shout out to Business 290 Career Navigation. My Mount Mary students are in the room. Shout out to all of y'all. I see you. I'm excited you're here. Yay. So, I just had to say a hello as I'm getting ready to tell my story. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So, have you ever had a bad boss? Well, I'm going to share a story with you about a founderess and CEO who in a matter of 4 weeks seen her business open, franchise, liquidate, and close. And the employees who experiencing the bad boss, they were my 12 cousins. And the bad boss, you guessed it, 10-year-old me. So I got to take you back with me to the summer of 1996, where two phrases made up my whole summer. First was one, my parents, they would say one of two things. Um, don't be running in and out don't be running in and out of my house, making it smell like outside. So, the smell of outside. And the other thing was wash your hands before you go in my refrigerator. So, imagine my delight when on this day I decided to break both rules. And I had to. The reason why? Because the most delicious elixir existed. So, I have to take y'all with me. Do you remember back in the day, like the red Kool-Aid man and how he, was a big old red pitcher? Imagine same flavor, same vibes for this elixir, but it was electric blue, like my fingernails and background. Inside each pitcher, my mom always made sure to slice up one full lemon. So, this elixir was the thing, and her electric blue lemonade was it. So, as I ran outside with my ice cold cup, I ran into my favorite cousin, who's also my bestie cousin, who said, I know exactly what that is. That's Aunt June's famous electric blue lemonade. Let me have a sip. So, as I shared my glass, gave her a sip, she looked at it and she said, This is so good, we could sell this. It was at that moment that I had an idea. That's right. Production had to begin. Y'all, week one was amazing. I wrote in my most perfect penmanship, ice cold lemonade, 25 cents on a piece of cardboard, and me and my 12 cousins got to work. When you have 12 cousins, you can get a lot of things done. I had two cousins who were responsible for being part of the street team. They rode their bikes up and down the neighborhoods, knocked on doors, and directed business towards our location. I also had cousins who were responsible for being the baristas, making sure to get all the drinks to different cars, ice cold, ready to go. I also had coin counting cousins who were responsible for counting not just the quarters we were getting, but also the dollars and other denominations. Because while the lemonade was 25 cents, people were giving us more. So money was being made. It was super exciting to have all this momentum. And with 12 cousins comes their friends, and with friends come crowds. And so, with having a big old crowd of people around hanging out at this lemonade stand, it only made sense the start of week two to decide to franchise. That's right. Location one was down the hill, location two was up the hill, and I split the cousins in half. Right? Right? So you can imagine it was so intoxicating for me to be able to walk in between two locations, collecting quarters, checking on my employees. I loved it. Whenever I would go home and empty out the money that we were making at the locations into my dresser, it was getting crazy. I was the quarter queen. There was nothing but money everywhere. And I did what any sensible 10-year-old would do at that age when it comes to the proper type of piggy bank when you're really making money, and decided to put my riches in a purple Crown Royal bag. We were serious, y'all. So with this here money that was being made and the things I was putting up, the problem is I was not, or had not yet at this point, paid the cousins. All the quarters I was collecting were mine. I had not given them any money. They were working the two locations. No one was being paid per se in dollars. I was, though, allowing some different opportunities for employee engagement. I did offer up for cousins on shifts, provided the bikes were available. They could, ride the bike, hang out, have fun, kind of a little health and wellness component. I also allowed for each cousin to get a complimentary cup of electric blue lemonade per shift, but Scout's honor. And I also made it a point to every other day bring a box of either 12 popsicles or 12 ice cream sandwiches to each location. Okay, so while it was not money being given, things were being exchanged. That all changed at the end of week three, as we were closing location two down to go close out one, in which one of my coin counting cousins said, Alexis, where is the money? We haven't gotten any money. Y'all, I tried at that time to go down a little bit of a diatribe about business and supply chains and demand and how if you buy ice cream sandwiches in bulk and that lemonade per lemon square footage. And she stopped me. She told me quit with the business talk. And she actually said, "Hey, we've been working hard. I think you should be fair." When I saw her face and the other cousins' faces as they looked at me, I knew that a discussion had to be had. And that night I could not sleep. I almost couldn't rest um, because I didn't know what to say, but I knew something had to be done. Y'all, the next day, only two of the 12 cousins showed up to report for duty. Bestie cousin was one of them. And she said to me, "Hey, Alexis, I want to let you know we're not going to be working the lemonade stand anymore. We're actually going to play at the park today." And she had said, um, "You're not very fair, and we deserve to get paid." And so as I watched Bestie cousin walk away, a new idea popped in my head. And you know me and my ideas, right? I went to the local 7-Eleven and took the mason jars, as well as the Crown Royal bag full of coins, and bought every delicious snack or treat I could find, including Snickers bars, chili cheese nachos, chips, cookies, pies, Slurpees, Big Gulps from the 7-Eleven, brought them back to the cousins at the park, and we ate our lives away, y'all. Spent every dime. So I know some of you might be thinking, "Alexis, you're not a bad boss. You redeemed yourself. You paid them." But I have found that my experience as a 10-year-old foundress and CEO of a business that opened, franchised, liquidated, and closed in a matter of 4 weeks, that I've actually gotten some of my most fundamental ideas about business. And so, as someone who teaches business, works in human resources, I very much believe three things. One, your employees are your best asset. Two, be fair. And three, be transparent. And I have seen the cousins, you all. In fact, we all got together this last year. 8 of the 12 of us, we went to Mardi Gras to hang out. And it's funny because when we hang out, we actually have three rules. The first one is whatever we do, it has to be fun. The second rule is I'm not allowed to be in charge. And the third rule is before we all leave, I am responsible and required to make a batch of Aunt June's famous electric blue lemonade spiked. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks for
you. Thank you. What a wonderful story. It's even better
yeah,
the
see you
second
guys.
time.
Yeah, everybody liked the story. That's great. And that is
Uh,
why Alexis is our keynote because
that's
she's
right. That's
amazing.
right.
So we will reflect on Alexis's story for a little minute. I don't know if Megan, if you can put back up the elements of a story. And if you guys want to put these into, oh yeah, cheers. If you guys want to put these, put your comments into the chat, you can. Or if you want to raise your hand and maybe I can call on a couple of people and we can just talk about what was the situation? What were the good parts about it? Or maybe did you want to know more? We'll start there and then we'll go from the complication and change to the resolution. So do we have anybody who wants to say anything about this? Oh yeah, Katie?
Yeah. Well, that was a great story. I was smiling the entire time. And I loved all the animation and incorporating the props as well. That was good. The nails, the background. So the situation, I saw the situation as you had an idea, you executed on it, and you were doing that in your neighborhood with your cousins, and they were your people. They were your employees, but they were also your buddies. So makes it a little difficult there to execute on those things. But that's what I saw as the situation. And that kind of just set the stage. Because if I say more, then I'm going to talk about the complication, which was pretty dramatic. Let's be,
Pretty complicated.
yeah.
Nice, yeah. And Desiree, you had something? You have your hand raised?
Yeah, so I mean, having had a chance to hear this story earlier, what I noticed today was that the situation sets us up like a superhero or supervillain origin story. There's sort of this idyllic moment with the electric blue that now that I'm really paying attention to it seems very magical. It's not regular
Right.
red Kool-Aid, it's
That's right.
electric blue.
That's very true. I would agree with that. I told Alexis that after we finished the coaching and everything for the story, that she needs to make me some electric blue lemonade. Might have to do what the cousins do and do it spiked, but we don't need to
Spike.
talk
That's
about that
right.
on
Spike.
here. But that could be my payment for this. So yes, I would agree with that. And the emotional reflection, just from hearing the both of you, it seems one a little bit nostalgic, but also just happy. You kind of are interested in what she's going to do next. Is she going to turn into the supervillain, or is she going to do right by her cousins? But that goes into the complication and the change. We heard a lot of comments from her cousins about what they thought about her business practices. So, would anybody like to share their thoughts on the complication and change, on some details there? I'm missing anybody, let me know. Okay. I think one of my favorite parts about the complication or the change, the pivot, was when Alexis thought everything was going fine. But then the one cousin stood up and said, "This isn't fun anymore. Like you're not paying us. You're not making it fun. You're not making it fair. So we want to leave." And I actually wasn't sure when she was telling the story. I wasn't sure what she was going to do after that, because she could have just said, "I don't want to do this." And she could have just, not talked to her cousins anymore. But instead, she found a solution. Would anybody like to talk about the resolution that you found and how that made you feel?
I can talk again.
Oh, yeah,
I
go.
felt good because I mean, you know, you look like a pretty fun person, but I didn't know how you were going to turn this around. Like, and when you were talking about the 7-Eleven, I was like, is she gonna like take all that money and go home and just I did all the work. I came up with the idea. I'm taking all I knew you weren't gonna do that, but it was fun. And I loved also that you tied it back to I can't remember the three things or whatever, but you were like I there was an entrepreneur, he started a business, franchised, liquidated, lost the business. Good pun on words there, if that was intentional, liquidating. And it was fun to kind of see that tied together.
Yeah, and we have a couple comments in the chat. Sue said it's funny how the story goes now for adults as it did for the kids. So it's quite relatable, honestly. And then Alexa said she didn't want to have to fight her 12 cousins.
And
I
I
don't know,
wanted
that would be a whole different story. Okay. Oh, if you want to go, or is it Ryan? Go right ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm one of Alexis's students, by the way. But I wanted to talk about the resolution because when I heard her say that she spent all the money at 7-Eleven, my immediate reaction was like, no, why did you do that? Like you should have just given them the money. But but now like thinking about it, as being a 10-year-old, like what's more important? I mean, for them, the snacks is great. Like that's what they're gonna love and have fun with. But like from my perspective as like an adult that, money is more important than those snacks, I was like, oh no. But I just thought it was interesting the way that she did that and like reminding myself that they're kids. And so this was like honestly a good solution for them at the time.
Do you want to hop on, Alexis, and say anything?
Well, Ryan, what is funny is my mouth hangs open because it is not until this day in which you said, well, why didn't you just give them actual money? I never even thought that. I literally was like, snack out! Like, I don't know why. So it has been over 30 years since that situation took place, and this is the first time I ever thought, why did I go buy the snacks? And actually, Kim made me think of why did you keep all the money? And I really don't know why. I don't know why. But it's funny how much that shaped me in business. And when I became like a business professor and started teaching, my cousins were like, "Of course, like duh, you were 10, like with a spreadsheet." And when they caught me on my business speak, like, I didn't even know what a merger or acquisition was, y'all, at 10, but that's the kind of crap I was giving them. So full circle, life comes, because here I am.
Absolutely. Tracy said, "Are you really not allowed to be in charge with your cousins? How is that possible?"
It's bad. They say things like "here she comes." They call me an embezzler. Like it's bad, but it's a funny thing, and I love that we have that kind of history. But I'm literally like people say things like "count your change." Like it's all that. It's bad. So
And Desiree, I'll go to you and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I just think that what's nice about this story is that there's two time frames in it, right? Like it goes back to the past when you're 10, but then you provide us some evidence of that you still have these really positive relationships and how lucky anybody is to have 12 cousins that you can get together with and have adult drinks with and tell these kinds of stories to each other and have the through line kind of that's it's hilarious to me that they call you the embezzler. I'm going to remember that.
You're muted.
I said, please don't start calling the HR lady the embezzler. Pick something else, please.
So I want to thank Alexis for sharing her story and everybody for commenting because you can see how, like she said, 30 years later, an element that she didn't even think about. And maybe the next time she tells the story, she has more time, or maybe she wants to move things around. She could even possibly put that in. But you never really know how a story is going to shape out until you tell it a few times and until you kind of sit with it. And when we were doing our coaching, Alexis was adding a lot of detail in, which was great, but we only had 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm like, we got to figure out what we can put in here and what we shouldn't. And using a worksheet like this can be helpful in doing things like that, because you can really figure out, well, can I maybe say one thing here versus embellishing all the things? I can do that maybe later. And then when I get comfortable with the story, then I can start to add in more things because I already know what the skeleton of the story should be, what point one, point two, and point three, where we're going with it. And then if I go off track, I can easily come back on. So yeah, thank you for that. And we will go on to Brave Spaces or Learning Zone. I'm sorry, Learning Zone with Sean.
Learning zones. All right. So, in order to create a brave space where we can tell these stories, many times in our effort to bring communities together, we enter these spaces in a panic zone. We don't necessarily want to share, you don't really know anybody, right? Things of that nature. And then as we begin to hear stories and we begin to listen, stories will take us from the panic zone into what we consider the learning zone. Now you've heard someone's story, you want to know more about that person. You want to know about their experience and what happened. You want to know other people's experiences. Then we move into the comfort zone. And that comfort zone is really where community begins to come together, right? And stories help us do that by connecting us all, because in everybody's story, we hear things that connect with us, right? We heard something in Alexis's story that connected with us, in Ken's story that connected with us, in my story that connected with us. And that puts us in a comfort zone. And once we're in that comfort zone, the hope is that you'll share. And in sharing, we begin to bring the community together and create that brave space that we talk about. That's how voices make impact and change. But we do have some things, some ways that works, right? So when we're building a brave space, we want to be sure to set clear expectations, right? Our themes help us do that at times because people have an expectation of the story you're going to tell, right? And you have an expectation of some of the stories you're going to listen to, right? But we want to set clear expectations. We also want to address fears. Stories help us to address our fears, right? And a brave space is a space where we can do that. When we ask you to be experimental, right, to experiment with yourself, right? Some of addressing our fears. identifying them and allowing us being in a safe space the opportunity to move those fears to the past or to the side so that we can move into our learning zone. Then we remove the barriers. Having these workshops and the way we do them, it removes barriers for communities to open up and be open about their journeys through their community, through their real personal stories. We normalize learning and mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in your story. Nothing is really a mistake because it's your story. You'll feel like you're making a mistake because you pause for a minute or something of that nature, but even talking about those mistakes is a story about how I couldn't get this right, right? There are stories that I tell that become so personal that I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to stop and have to breathe through it or something of that nature. But we're normalizing that learning. And in our communities, creating brave spaces helps us to normalize those things where people can come together, make mistakes, and still feel safe and empowered and encouraged in their communities. We use personal stories to show that we're not alone. You could ride over that pothole 100 times, and you could complain to your husband and your wife or your kids. But when we get together in community organized groups and we all begin to talk about the details of the same pothole, now, right, now we don't feel alone. We feel as if we can take our stories and add value and speak to those who have to address our concerns. It also gives us some comfort that we're not the only one. All right, some stories will never be shared with everyone, but listening to other people's stories can make us feel brave in spaces where we wouldn't be otherwise. All right, so now that we've done the learning model and we had tips for creating brave spaces, I think now we're going to be moving into ultra short.
Yes,
Is it?
so we're talking about bonding over potholes and things, and hopefully you report those to your city and you get those fixed because it is outrageous out here. But I need you guys to do something for me. If you have been to an Exfabula event before, I need you to give me a something in the chat. Give me a reaction or something so I can know who's done it. All right. That means that all of you need to come to an event and get it on your calendar because they are a really good time. Now, at these events, if you don't want to go on stage, like Sean said, we can still be part of the storytelling community and the activity. And you do that through Ultra Shorts. There's white little sheets of paper, and based off the theme, you write a little story that you don't want to share, and the host will share them on stage and read them for you. You can remain anonymous, and so we're going to do an activity like that here. You can remain anonymous, and I'll tell you how to do that in just a second. But first, we're going to give you a few examples of Ultra Shorts, and then I'll have you think of some. The theme that we're doing for these, and maybe this is going to be your story for later, the theme is a moment of learning or moment of discovery. So that could be a time you were embarrassed and what you learned, or just anything. So, moment of learning and discovery. And I got one for you. First one says, and this is from Anonymous. First marriage, not bad. Great guy. Second marriage to my wife. Thank God for second chances.
All right. All right. Okay, so mine is second, and I asked my nephew, do you have music that you like to listen to? He was in high school about 25 years ago. His answer was that he liked to listen to classical music. I said, that's wonderful. Can you name one or two artists? His reply, I like the Beatles, like Leonie K.
And we're going to have one more, and then we'll let you guys do your thing. So this is from Yomo. I'm Puerto Rican. Wepa. I spent years thinking that my hair loss made me less Puerto Rican. I even questioned whether I was worthy of being on this planet. Life got dark for me. I looked for women of color, Latinas, talking about hair loss online, but I didn't find any, so I became the woman I needed. I created Hair Loss Bonita, so women going on this journey don't do so alone. I am the culture, I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm worthy. So those are just some examples of how you can still participate in the event and not get on stage. And so we're going to do some here with the theme of moment of learning and discovery. We want you to kind of think of some things that have happened. We'll give you a couple of minutes, and if you want us to read them, go ahead and put them in the chat. That's what we'll do. But if you want to remain anonymous, you can send them to Megan and send her a direct message. She is tech support, and you can send them to her. So we'll give a couple minutes and then we'll read some. We had a lot, I will say, in our earlier session. We couldn't even get through all of them. I think basically everyone gave us an ultra short. So
And they
I
were
don't know.
so wonderful.
They really were. And you know what? Actually, what's great about this is typically you have to at least give us some kind of good penmanship. Here you can just type it out.
That's
So
right.
we'll give you guys a
Autocorrect will make
couple
you a
minutes to do
star.
that. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna read Sue's, and maybe that will inspire some other folks. Get on in here. Thank you, Sue. Sue says, having chickens was a great surprise. They are so fun to watch and have active social activities. The best part is the eggs and the fuzzy chicken butts. So cute.
Yeah,
I'm here for that.
yeah.
I would say it's not chickens, but I have a thing for like bats and koalas. Like I would just love to, maybe I should write this as an ultra short, but I'm just gonna say it. I would love to um hold a little bat and like feed it fruit because they just love fruits and berries. I think they're adorable.
Yeah. Okay, we have another one. So in high school soccer, this one's from, okay, I think this was anonymous because it says Megan Tech Support. In high school soccer back in the 90s in Oshkosh, we did these drills over and over. So tedious. Roll the ball in one direction, then pull it back, change directions. I hated it. And then one day in a game, I used that move to get around someone, and I felt like a goddess. Okay, maybe those drills are worth it. Great job, great job.
Nice. And then I'll read this one from Katie, and then we can, I guess, wrap it up after that and go to the
That's,
next part. Thank you, Sue.
okay.
I love that you love bats. We're here right now. We're here. All right. So Katie says, I was a middle child of three. My brother was the youngest, my sister the oldest. When I was 30, my sister became a middle child as well. How? My mom gave a baby up for adoption, and she found us. We love her. I'm 60 now and I am the luckiest sister in the world. Very nice.
All right, great. Okay, so we've had you here for a little bit, right?
Oh, oh no, we got one more from Julie.
One more, okay.
Yes. Julie says solo traveling. First time took a car ferry with a bike, explored by driving, pedaling, and on trails. Great day of adventure. Oh yeah, definitely sounds like it.
Yeah, definitely.
Solo travel, the best.
Okay. So here's one. When I was younger, I adopted a gray, chubby guinea pig. Every month, she seemed to get fatter and fatter, and no one knew why. 10-year-old me loved it. A few months went by, and I woke up and saw two new guinea pigs, two guineas in the cage. All right.
And Elise says
I
she
thought
was
that
so
was,
happy.
yeah, I thought that was gonna be a story about losing a a pig, in the house somewhere. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if we don't have any in the screen right now, I'm gonna read one from our examples. I think the moments before you jump is always the worst. A little over a year ago, I got up on stage in an X Fabula event. Ever since, I've been a little less afraid speaking up. That was from Abby. So these ultra shorts, the short stories can carry a lot of impact and create that, um, bring down those barriers and also, help us to better understand each other. It's just a fun thing to do. The little stories that we hear, they little, they tickle you, and they open your imagination. And it's something that allows the audience to feel like they're involved in the event as well. So when you come to one of our events at the Slams, then you'll be doing ultra shorts as well. There'll be people passing out the ultra shorts and pencils. I think we have a contract with the Little Pencil Company because we've got thousands of little pencils.
Well, you know what, Sean, actually, a great example from earlier today is that we had one student put in an ultra short about how she met her boyfriend. Her name is Aubrey, and Drake's name is Aubrey. And somehow Drake was mentioned, and oh, we have the same name, awkward thing. And it was a great story. But I mentioned that because she put it in as an ultra short, and then I found out she was in my group. She volunteered to tell the story, and from the ultra short to what she shared, which became a almost 4 minute story, just in that time period. She had told the story to her group so many different times, to maybe two, three, four people. And as she continued to tell the story, they asked her questions and wanted her to add more things in. And so it went from being a 30-second ultra short to, like I said, a story that was 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And then after she told it, people loved it, but they still had more questions. And so she could have made that story 5 minutes if she wanted to. So this process works. You know, you might not think you want to share, but that 30 seconds can become that 5 minute story.
It can. And you can do your own ultra short for your own story that you want to tell. You know, back to that situation, complication, resolution, and a couple of details. It can be a real quick thing that you can later on dive deeper into and pull out more details and more emotions, and you'll see how the story begins to stretch and really fill out into something that you want to tell and it can be compelling. Or it could just stay ultra short. It'd be nice and cute and fun. We have some ultra short warriors at our events. They're always there. They're always putting in their ultra shorts. They're funny. You know, they may not be at the point where they want to tell a full story yet, but definitely we want everyone to participate in their way. It doesn't have to be a full 5 to 10 minute story. It can be just a quick ultra short.
And what I will add too is that if you have whether it's an ultra short or whether it's just an idea, we also host workshops often before each slam. So if you just want to come and work with a coach, you can also do that too. Those workshops are free, so you can come on in and do
Yeah,
that.
definitely. We all love the free stuff.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Megan. I think they are. They shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
Depends on the series. But I will
There we
say
go.
right now we are about to have an opportunity for y'all to do some storytelling practice. Is
Mhm.
that right? Sean,
Right.
do you want to give people a preview of what we'll be doing right before we take a break?
So, right before we take, well, what we're going to be doing when we come back is we're actually going to be getting into our we're actually going to be working on workshops and in our different groups. We're going to pair people up. This is no pressure. It's not a slam or anything of that nature. We're merely going to be pairing up and working on stories together, and then coming back and sharing our stories with each other. Uh, we want to thank our sponsors before we take our break here. It's going to be a 10-minute break altogether. And we want to thank our sponsors again, all right, Alverno College Community Conference and the Mary Ann Schwartz and Dr. Brewer Speaker Series. All right. So we want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your ultra shorts and being part of this moment to create a brave space together. If there are any questions or concerns, please let us know. There will be someone here during the break to answer questions, I believe. Um, See you in 10 minutes. Did I miss anything? All right, everybody go.
Nope, we're all set. We will see you back here at 25 after the hour, whatever time zone you're in.
Okay.
No need to change links. We'll be right here.
All right.